Oh, hey guys. I'm coming to you today from beautiful Orcas Island, Washington. Having a little 5-day getaway on this beautiful place. And I thought the light on the deck out here looked really great, so I thought even though I was taking a break from working, I thought maybe I would make a little video for all y'all. Notice I said all y'all. I don't always say that kind of thing. Anyway, hopefully we can make it through this little video without any problems. There's a construction crew down below. They might start hammering or something. I wanted to talk to you about a little touchy subject. Well, it's touchy for me because it's happening right now. And I know a lot of my students are dealing with things like this. I'm going to call this Volume 1 of the Arthritis Chronicles. I am, like my father before me, suffering from some bit of arthritis in my hands. Now, this is relatively new for me, but I've been feeling it coming on, and now it sort of is on. So I wanted to talk to you about if you're having a similar experience, or if you aren't, but you're maybe have a genetic predisposition to this because someone before you in your family has had it. I know plenty of people who have arthritis of various types, and they still play and they still do what they like to do, and maybe they have to do a little bit more warming up in the morning, or be a little more consistent with their playing and all those kinds of things. So let me just talk a little bit about what's going on with me. I have this first finger particularly is damaged. I have nerve damage in the tip of it, so I don't know if you've noticed, but I'll very often play with that note with that part of my finger instead of the tip, because the tip of my finger has gets these little hot shots and it's numb and it's weird. So I use this part of my finger very often to play notes. So that's an accommodation of a difficulty that I have. I also noticed that I can't close this finger all the way like I can this one. And that means to me that this joint here is starting to get inflamed or whatever. And so what I have to do is I have to make sure that when I wake up in the morning, I do a little bit of hand exercises just to remind myself that stiffness doesn't necessarily mean that I'm crippled somehow, but it takes a little while longer for me to get things to work as I would hope they could. And in spite of my best efforts, sometimes I can't do what I used to be able to do with my hands. And I have to realize that and make music in spite of that, and not get too depressed about it or anything like that. This hand seems to be doing okay, although the first finger on this hand is also a little touchy. Sometimes if I overdo it, I get sore wrists. Sometimes if I really overdo it and I'm playing too hard on a guitar that I'm not used to, I'll get a little pinchy shoulder stuff going on. But I think and even if something like that, I just made a big stretch. This stretch is not that hard to do because I'm just straightening my first finger out. I've mentioned this before. And so we work with our hand rather than trying to force our hand to do something that it doesn't want to do. If you need to play around with where your hand meets the guitar, how your wrist is in relationship to it, bring the guitar up like this seems to help. I've been wearing my guitar like this a lot lately. And then also the inevitable, which I know that some folks are dealing with as well, is that your hands start to break down and they don't want to behave. I would say that consistent, steady, gentle playing is probably the best overall advice I can give, rather than taking a week off and then trying to play a little bit every day. And playing can actually help stave off stiffness. At least that's my experience. And again, I'm not giving you medical advice here. Playing gently, not playing digging in. Like right now I'm making the guitar sing kind of nicely, and it's not very not really digging in or pushing hard. We have electric guitars with these little things on them, and the other little thing sitting over there, that's for making it louder. So you can be soft and still have dynamics. You can take your dynamic range and just lower it so you're not beating on the instrument. Unless sometimes you beat on the instrument because it sounds the way you want it to sound, but mostly you don't have to. But generally speaking, we have to accept that. And then also we have to realize that, like for instance, I'll just give you a little personal thing. When I was 19, I could fly all over this thing. I didn't know where to go, but I could fly all over it. Then I started learning how to know where I wanted to go, and then I could fly and know where I wanted to go. And then my musical morality, as it were, my sense of what I wanted to play, started to determine that I didn't really like the way it sounded when I was flying all over the place. I liked it the way it sounded better when I was playing more beautifully and slower maybe, or putting more attention into each note. And I feel like that process is continuing on until now, where I'm actually able to edit myself quite a lot and enjoy the result of it. And so it's matching, my musical aesthetic, as it were, is matching with my perhaps slightly reduced abilities to move my fingers in clever ways. And I think that that's appropriate. I saw Jim Hall play maybe only a few months before he passed away out here in Seattle. There's a seaplane flying over. I hope that doesn't bother anybody. And he played beautifully. He played very little, but he played beautifully. He wasn't trying to play something that he couldn't play. He was actually taming his intentions to match his abilities. And I think that was really inspiring. In fact, it might have been my favorite performance of Jim Hall. I've seen him half a dozen times, and that last one was perhaps my favorite one because he was so present with his actual abilities and played beautifully in spite of being all bent over and clearly not in his best physical shape. So anyway, just in general, if you're going through this, or if you're having trouble, if you're trying to play, oh, there's the seaplane, he's making a cruise. If you're trying to play some of my arrangements or exercises and you're finding it difficult, well, that's okay. It happens to everybody. I'll probably have trouble playing some of these arrangements in the not too distant future as well. So we just do what we can do, take the things out that are too hard and find something else that's more playable and maybe even sounds better. Okay, so this is an encouragement for all of us who are trying to play, we're able to play for a lifetime rather than just take a snapshot and try and fit ourselves into some unmoving thing. Okay, take care, guys.